Hey everyone, welcome to LimitLess Radiocast, episode 96. Hanging out with the amazing Gustavo Dantas, 6th-degree black belt, and Chad and I get into some awesome, deep mental coaching conversation with Gustavo. It's amazing. I just tell you guys, you're going to enjoy this one so much, so throw those headphones on, turn that volume up, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, this show is also being brought to you by some awesome sponsors. You got RollAmongUs.com, OldBonesTherapy.com, 28bands.com, BJJ Foundation, Lashley Nutrition, BattleBomb.com, Thomas Webb at DHoff Realtors, Dan Candry Law, MagicCityBrewingCompany.com, located in Akron, Ohio, MNHBeans.com, and Tax and Accounting LLC by Ronald E. Butler. Listen, guys, these sponsors have helped us tremendously to continue this show each and every week. We're reaching 18,000 people on just Reels alone. It is amazing what we are doing, and we're doing it all because of you. So please, support our sponsors as much as they support us. Now enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome into the show. Hope all you guys are out there doing well, taking care of yourself, doing what you need to do. And today, Chad and I have the great honor to hang out with Gustavo Dantas. He is a 6th-degree black belt. He is an owner and lead instructor of Gustavo Dantas Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Tempe, Arizona. He also has an amazing podcast called the BJJ Mental Coach Podcast, and also a website for all you guys out there. And obviously, you know, we always have that stuff in the show notes, and Gustavo will talk about it. Yeah, that's it. I completely looked down and I was like, oh, I read everything, didn't I? So Gustavo, thanks so much for coming on and hanging out with us. We appreciate it very much.
For sure, man. Thank you for having me. And it's always fun to have a conversation podcast. So ready. How much time you guys got? Because, you know, sometimes we can go for a long time. So you tell me, you know,
you're good. So we go till whenever, like we'll keep going. And if we end it and then we go, hey, we got to end it, we'll come back and do another part and talk great jiu-jitsu. You know, one of the greatest things I think about doing this and obviously in the new technology that we're in is the ability to talk to someone in Arizona, we're in Ohio, and to build this community even more, to give information to the people out there who are listening. They are most likely all jiu-jitsu practitioners in some fashion, from white belt to black belt. And these type of conversations can educate them, help them, lead them in their journey from information and just hearing great conversation from people. So one thing I love about doing podcasting, I'm an introvert by nature, and this has changed that greatly. You as well?
Me too.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy that I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are, which is so weird, right? Because we'll just go roll with strangers or, you know, I'm sure I would rather teach a room full of 50 people than get up and speak to 50 people, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If I'm not doing jiu-jitsu, it makes it weird.
I hear you. For me, it depends. I don't have a problem speaking public. Mm-hmm. If I have like something to say, I have a message I need to share, something I need to teach, I don't have a problem. You know, if it's something I have no idea what I'm talking about, hey, go talking about something I have no clue. Like, yeah, maybe I have a problem. Right. But if something that I feel comfortable, and especially when it's part of my mission or my life mission or for what I do, and I have no problem, but it's interesting about the introvert extrovert thing. I study, watched a lot of stuff about it. So it's not so much like it's one or the other. It's like a spectrum, right? So usually you lean towards more. So you may have, like heavier to the introvert side, and I may have like maybe one or like some extrovert like tendencies per se, and some people may be like heavier to the other side, and some people call the ambivert, which is kind of like in the center, a little like a good, like in a balance. And I feel like for me, and the difference is the introvert is like how they recharge their batteries is just kind of being quiet by themselves. You know, like maybe you go to a party and come back and you're exhausted emotionally, you know what I mean, to all the interactions, like, my God, I need to take a nap, you know. As someone that is more extrovert, they feed out of that, and that's how they like basically recharge their batteries.
That's how they charge their batteries. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of crazy how the human mind and body Not crazy. I love it. But it works that way. And it's awesome to come across those type of people, especially doing this, like speaking this way, or, you have both in a gym. I'm sure Gustavo in your gym, and Chad, we have the same. We have extroverts and introverts in our gym. And it's awesome to, especially in jiu-jitsu, to see how they interact with each other as well, which makes it very, very interesting. And it's different. I've gotten better as I've gotten older. I'm 45. And the older I've gotten, the more I've studied, researched, pushed myself, made myself be in uncomfortable positions, purposely, not from a bad standpoint, but for an educational standpoint, speaking in front of others at work, and so on and so forth. I've been able to build that up better to have these type of conversations with someone I've never met before. Now that I met you, Gustavo, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, like he's my friend. You know what I mean? Like that also, it's not always a great thing because as you know, it's like, that person may not be a good person. Not in the podcast world. I believe that it truly is. And that's one of the great things about doing this. But my wife is always like, you're always easy to say, oh, like they're a good person. She's like, you don't know anything about them. I'm like, well, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt too.
For sure.
So how's podcasting going for you?
Man, last year I did more of like Portuguese version.
Okay.
So I didn't do a lot of podcasts in English last year.
Okay.
I probably would like in English, and I did a lot of Instagram lives and during the pandemic too.
Yeah.
I put some on my YouTube. I probably done over like 300 interviews or something.
Oh, wow.
With that Portuguese and English.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's
this
an inspiration.
Year, so this year, I started to focus a little more. Like, you know what, I need to get going. And one of the main reasons for me to get back into the podcast is I co-founded this nonprofit organization, Jiu-Jitsu Tribe, in 2010. Yes. So that's kind of like I use it as a tool to kind of like to be able to plug, give some people know more about it. So that's a good, man. I got a lot of like, good donors, good partners, connecting social projects with gi companies, so that is one kind of like a big thing for me with this. And, actually, how did you guys start it? When it was decided, like, you know what, let's do a podcast? How did you guys decide it?
Chad, you here. This is kind of funny. Like, we just were talking about this. It was very random. It was very... I'm a blue belt, so I'm fairly still new in my jiu-jitsu. I've been 3 years now. I called Chad. We became closer over time. Walked into the gym one time, and Chad was like, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And I kind of was like, "Oh yeah," and like I didn't we're friends, but I was like, I don't know really where that's coming from. And then months later, he said, "We should do a podcast," and I was like, "Huh." Maybe we should do a podcast. I don't even know what that, even how to go about doing that. So then I said, you know what? I told my wife, I said, think about doing a podcast. And she said, about what? And we talked about it. And I said, I'm just going to do it. So then I started doing all the research, try to figure out, editing and tools and what programs to use and so on and so forth, what's the best platform to do it. And we decided, obviously to do it from a video standpoint in the beginning. And then I went on Amazon and found a good mid-range, headphone, microphone set, boom, whatnot, and bought 2 packages, sent one to Chad's house and sent one to my house, and he got it in the mail, and he called me and said, I guess we're doing a podcast. And I said, yeah, now we got to come up with a name. And so then that's kind of how it just blossomed. We were going to do 2 shows a month. That was
what year was that when you guys started?
2021. Yeah, 2021 was our first show. January of 2021.
Yeah, January 24th, 2021. We dropped our first show, and we, it was just like learn from there. Obviously, I go back and I hear everything all the time because I do all the editing, and hearing now compared to then, I'm like, wow. In the beginning, you really don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to. I don't want to say you don't know how to talk. As a grown person, but you do find ways to figure out how to talk to people that you just met or have good conversation. We wanted to always do it organically to where we weren't like, hey, I have these questions and I want to ask you these questions. I want to build that conversation from this, like asking about podcasting or just in general. And so we've approached it that way. We've been very successful, fortunately, and blessed in order to be where we are. We're getting ready. This is be our 95th show with you, Gustavo.
Nice.
So a little over 2 years. January 24th was 2 years that we've been doing it. This is our 95th show, and we're well over 15,000 downloads just in audio or in video. We didn't start till later because it wasn't something I understood or knew exactly what to do and how to handle that. What was the best program I wanted to use to edit and all that kind of stuff. So then we got it. That actually happened on a whim too. So we were in the middle of a show and a guest was like, "Hey, are you dropping video on this?" And I was like, "I guess we are now." And it just went from there. So and I love it. It's one of the greatest things I've ever have achieved or done with someone that I care about greatly in my life. Now I don't see myself not doing it.
Right on. The way I started mine, actually, there is a point to where I'm going to share. So I started to release content. I did the BJJ mental coach, the idea for people maybe listening for the first time, don't know who I am or what I do. But in 2010, I started to get involved with mental coaching, more to kind of I notice in jiu-jitsu, it's interesting how you go through your self-confidence journey per se. And from the beginning, from not having much experience competing, have zero confidence, zero, and take me 6 tournaments to win a match, that kind of thing, to eventually really building my confidence to the most confident I've ever felt. And then I moved to the US and everything just kind of crashed down. I'm not with my former training partners, all that kind of stuff, personal issues. So a lot of the things that, personal life reflects on the mat. That is for sure. And so we go through different battles, and I took some time off competing, and I felt 2007 started competing a little bit more again. And I have some decent results a little bit. I was competing in 2008, 9, 10, but when you compete, maybe you win. I don't know if it happened to you or any of the listeners, you won the match, let's say, but you're dude, that was not me there. You know what I mean? I know that was not my best version. For whatever reason, something was holding you back from being your best version. Whatever mental block that is, and it's your duty to find the source of the issue and deal with it, and try to improve, or you're going to be dealing with this. So I was in a tournament in Vegas in 2010, one of the Vegas Open. I just came back from Brazil 2 weeks earlier, competing back then they didn't have the Master Worlds. They have the International Masters and Seniors, they call. Okay. That was kind of like the Master Worlds back then in 2010. And I competed and everything. And I came and I went to Vegas, and I felt man, every time I was competing, my anxiety was higher than used to be, and then I competed. One of my division only had one match. One of those, you score a bunch of points or whatever, and people are like, "Oh, awesome, you did great." And in my mind, I'm I don't know what match they're looking, because I'm, usually we are our worst critics, right?
Oh, for sure.
To stop and thinking about the worst things. But I didn't like how I felt emotionally speaking during the match, feeling afraid of passing, I just didn't like. And then I went to compete, and I usually don't compete open class, but I decided to do it because I was so unhappy with how I felt. And then I ended up having I felt like I was training. So long short, I was kind of pressuring myself for my division. I have to win. And then with the opens, I'm the featherweight here. Who cares? So kind of having that weight. But I had experienced that before in Brazil many, many years ago. So I remember going back to the hotel, and I said, I need to get to the bottom of this, because I'm getting sick of this, just dealing with this anxiety. And I started researching, Google, couldn't find anything, and mental preparation for jiu-jitsu or whatever. There's nothing. So I started to get involved with whatever I could find, and I got online program was like a little book with like a CD and that kind of stuff for like 2 weeks. And even though it was so simple, there was already enough just for me to question some self-limiting beliefs. You know what I mean?
Sure,
of like things that you're like, you think about, like all the things that you have no control. I was putting a lot of focus on it. That's when anytime in anything in your life, when you focus on things that you cannot control, it will give you anxiety, it will give you muscle tension. There's a good chance you will not be your best self. And I'm not just talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, everything.
Talking about overall.
Yep.
And then I started studying, and I started releasing content, start doing videos and stuff like that. And I create a list of the top 10 mental mistakes jiu-jitsu competitors make and how to avoid them based on all the things that I messed up. Eventually, I'd release that only in Portuguese, a course that is top 30 mistakes. Because after I'm interviewing so many people, I start getting, because I would always ask about mental mistakes. And I start asking like the best competitors in the world and coaches. And they're like, oh, wow, never heard of that. Or like, oh, I've never seen, because I started with the ones that I felt. And that's something that is super valuable for a coach. Because maybe you have no mental blocks. Yay, good for you. But a lot of your students can have, so at least you being aware of that, maybe you can, because it's tough for some people that has no mental blocks and incredible athlete. Just what do you mean you're nervous? What do you mean?
Right?
Like, no, it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
But since I struggle a lot with that, it was easy for me to connect with athletes and stuff. So I started releasing content and courses, online courses. Back then was DVD and all that kind of stuff. And around 2017, and I started noticing podcasts was growing. I was like, at some point I'm going to do a podcast, but I was involved with way too many things at the same time. I've been a event promoter to promote terms for the past 25 years.
Oh yeah.
And
that takes a lot of time.
Like, so I'm like, too many things happening. So anyway, 2018, I was training for the Abu Dhabi World Pro. I had a chance to compete there in 2014. So I was training for it and about ticket purchase, everything. So it was about maybe like I was like 18 days prior to the tournament. And one of the things people need to be careful too, when you start like cutting weight, that's the time you got to be really careful. Sometimes just accidents really happen, you know what I mean? But you're a little weaker than normal, whatever. And most of the time, then I don't know why, it's always like the last round, I'm just gonna do this thing here, just this extra thing, and some shit happen. You know what I mean? Like usually it's always like the last round. So anyways, I end up dislocating my elbow really bad. Oh, really bad. And I have done it before. Some people have issues with knees, ankles, shoulder, whatever. My gig is elbows. I have surgery. I dislocated maybe 3 or 4 times, broke it twice. So I had like way too many. Like I remember I was laying down. They had to cut my gi.
Man.
Oh, geez.
Ambulance came in, and the way that I'm laying down, and I'm like, I had a feeling that I'm like, oh my arm is right here. And when I look, my arm is at a completely different angle. Like, oh, okay. It was like,
this is not good. Good.
The feeling that I had was like, oh, it's hurting right here. And then I just look it up. My arm is pointed the other way. So that was really bad. So I don't even remember. They gave me morphine. I don't even remember.
Probably morphine.
Yeah, I don't remember leaving the school. I just kind of had some flashbacks of like they taking me, and then I woke up, my arm was already back in place in a hospital, right? So I had my 15 minutes of pity party, of like, oh my god, this sucks, my arm, I can't do this, to do that, and then so I'm still a little kind of groggy from the medication. But then actually, when it started, it didn't take too long for me to kind of snap out of it. Like, all right, dude, okay, you have your pity party for 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Now I need to snap out of it because you talk about this shit. You know what I mean? The fact cannot be changed. Only your response to the fact can be changed. That happened. That sucks. I wish that didn't happen. You're not going to be able to train. You're not going to be able to teach. What are you going to do with your time? So by the time I left, I'm in the car, my wife is driving, and then I'm thinking, I'm going to start a podcast. this the time because I can't do anything.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm out of commission for quite some time. I needed some extra time. So I said that was exactly 3 weeks before the Worlds 2018. So I said, okay, I don't know anything about it. So we go to Google and start looking for it. And then there is, I don't know if you guys ever heard of John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire.
No, I have not.
So they have a free for the listeners who maybe get involved with them, want to get involved with the podcast. Sure. He offers a free like 10 days like free course, not 10 days, 10 classes.
10 classes, sure, yeah.
For you to get the ball rolling. And he has a great community. They have like services. They show how to get sponsored. A lot of good stuff, really good stuff. And so I did a 10 days and I already knew you have the option to upgrade. So you can upgrade and have like mentoring and stuff like that. So I already knew I was going to get that. So I did a 10. And just with that, by the way, it's awesome. And you're good to go. Like you don't need to get the mentoring or stuff. I already, when I go all in, I'm like, I'm all in. So let's go.
This must be a jiu-jitsu thing too for guys.
Yeah.
Like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys do are like,
might as well starting. So let's go. So I did some actually mentoring with him, personal with him. This dude is a big deal. Yeah. This dude release episodes every day.
Okay? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But he has a very systematic like approach.
Sure.
Very good. And so we got the plan going of like, or I should do, and equipment, still the same equipment this year that I'm using. And basically in 3 weeks I said, my goal is to launch at the Worlds. When I start the Worlds, I want to be putting the word out, so basically at the Worlds, I already had 3 episodes recorded and 2 already painted. So they wanted to suggest as soon as you launch, just launch like 3 at first, because people are gonna hear, be like, "Whoa, is there another one?" Oh no, wait, yeah. So they go like, "Hey, just start launching like 3." So they already have 3, and then you start like once a week. So I did it once a week for a good 3 solid years, maybe, and then it's starting to like slow down. But so what is kind of like the whole point of the story here? There are a few things, and one is, it's not what happens to you, is what you do about it, and this is not my quote or anything, but it's actually W. Mitchell, the name of the person. It's not because an undesired outcome happened that you need to be like, oh my God, life's over. Da, 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 da. So I used to say a lot of my interviews at the end, I did what it's called. I just started doing that again. What it's called my final thoughts, meaning I'll reflect on what was said. I'll get one message that caught my attention, and I'll expand on it.
Sure.
Whatever that is. Personal development, usually related. So I remember doing an episode that I did, that was one of the guests talk about turning the negative into a positive. So I did a thing about him. So like, yeah, he said about this. And then I told the story of how the podcast started turning the negative into a positive. However, I personally, even though I've created, I understand the point, I don't use that concept of turning a negative into a positive anymore. With my personal development journey, one of the things that I start to like really pay attention is like, I don't label things positive or negative anymore. Why? For you, the listener, right now, listening to the podcast, maybe you're driving, you're doing whatever, I want you to think, and for you too also, I want you to think about maybe like a scenario, something, quotations, if you just listen, negative that happened 5 years ago, and nowadays you're a lot better positioned because of that so-called negative experience. So is it negative or is it positive? No, it's just an undesired outcome. That's all that is. If you want to label it, that's on you. But maybe something happened, like with my arm. Is it negative? Because of that, look at a podcast. Look how many people I met. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
can I call negative. It's not negative or positive. It's just an undesired outcome, a fact. And the fact cannot be changed. Only a response to the fact can be changed. So at the moment that you like accept, that's it. It's over. Whew, that sucked. Whew. And then many times, I guarantee you how many things in your life you just look back and think about some undesired outcomes that you're like, wow, that's true. Today I had to go through that crappy situation to be where I'm at today. So that's why now I just don't label positive or negative. It's just a fact that is desired or undesired.
Sure. That's awesome. Like, this is really, really wild for me right now because I'm going through something right now, Gustavo, with work. And I'm putting my mind in that perspective again that I lost. I wasn't in that mindset because that's what I was doing for a very long period of my life. I would do that. I wouldn't label it. I wouldn't say, oh, this is the worst thing ever. I would just be like, that event happened, but I actually have the quote on my Instagram account it's not the event that happens in your life. It's your response to that event that's going to define you. And I quit doing that. And so an event happened to me at work, and now I'm trying to learn again, which is probably a dumb way to say it, but to navigate it. I'm trying to navigate this situation, and I'm allowing it to consume me more than I want it to. So it's awesome that you bring it up, and it's kind of like, yeah, again, Chad and I talk about, like, sometimes I need the podcast. Like I need people like to hear things like this sometimes, even for my own self-awareness and my own self-well-being, is like, man, that's what I'm trying to hear. Like, I'm trying to hear that. Like, I'm studying stuff more than I have before this 2 weeks ago incident. And I'm, again, trying to get my mind back into that same perspective and to think that way, like exactly what you're saying. Like, that was an undesired event that happened, but I'm going to learn from it, and I want to be better from it as I go forward. And
being optimistic that, I don't know, hopefully in a near future, maybe it's not near, maybe, who knows, but to look back and say, like, damn, I really had to go through that to be where I'm at today.
Sure.
So that's why I'm telling you, that really helps me to like snap out of it. Because when you get in that loop and a vicious cycle, when you see you're not just a few minutes, you're days, and now next thing you're depressed for months because you're still thinking about that, and it's not easy. Let me pick up. I have a quote here.
Yeah, for sure.
Right in front of me that said this: many people enjoy living in the past, especially if going back there lets them blame someone else for anything that's gone wrong in their lives. Forgiveness means letting go of the hope for a better past.
I like
that's
that.
Deep.
Yeah, that's deep.
It's very deep.
Yeah. So
very deep.
Sometimes you're just kind of like, we gotta find and blame someone, or like that person for try to get a better past. Like, it is what it is, dude. Nothing, that's a beautiful saying too. It is what it is.
Sure.
It really is. It's as simple as simple.
Right. People always like, oh, you're just going to say that. And I'm like, but like, you're not.
It kind of is.
Like, it is that exactly. Like,
this is the fact. The fact. This here just happened. And whether, you like or you don't. So I tell you that more I started to implement this in my life, it's not easy, because sometimes you're going to have some really, really tough, undesired things to happen.
Sure.
But it's either you get stuck on a rut, or you just like up. And especially when something that we did wrong, you know what I mean? Sometimes not someone else did it. Sometimes we did wrong, and you're like, oh, fuck. So now you keep beating yourself up with the guilt and shame of like whatever you think, and then try to snap out of it. I know that it's not easy, but this is the fact, and all I can really do is learn from this right now. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I love that saying too. I used to hate it, but I like it a lot more now, because we're so, it's human nature to be defensive and blame somebody else or make an excuse on why that something happened, whether it's work or jujitsu. Like, oh, my guard got passed, but he did, no, it's your fault. You should have got your guard passed, so we can relate that to everything, man. It is what it is. I like it.
Did that perspective in, learning and training that you went through, Gustavo, did that help you? Like, obviously it did, but like, did it build as you kept doing it and kept thinking about it in that nature for competition, for teaching people all that in jiu-jitsu?
For sure, man, because there's so many analogies and so many correlations of life in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah. So, it's unbelievable too when you say that, because there is.
It is, so there's no way not to think about it. That's why like, especially like competition has a lot too of a life correlation that sometimes like, if I have to ask you, and that'll be something for the listeners to reflect, but maybe what did you say, what is one of the kind of biggest takeaways or lessons that you got from being in a competition, to have competed before? Have you competed before? So
it's funny you brought it up. I have not competed yet. And because I've dealt with a lot of what you're saying, like, so I was supposed to compete this past Saturday for my first time ever. And I'm a pusher on myself. I push myself extremely hard. I love to work out. I love to get every ounce that I can get out of myself. And jiu-jitsu started to become not fun for me for a few weeks there. And I reached out to Chad, and, we had a good conversation about it. And so I decided not to compete now. And now it doesn't mean I won't compete. I started doubting everything I was doing, like going and training and going, wow, wait a minute, like, I'm overthinking this, and I'm super nervous that this move that I can do all the time isn't going to be there for me. Or I didn't know how to approach it because I've never I played sports my whole life. I wrestled. So I have the one-on-one, as a younger person experience, but for whatever reason at this age in my life, I have 3 kids, beautiful wife, and a great job. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't fun for me. Like, I don't want to.
What did wrestling teach you though, as far as competing, as far as competition? What a good takeaway that you got.
Wrestling, man, so long ago. I remember the day someone asked me to wrestle. It was another friend. He wrestled, and he was like, "Terry, you should wrestle. You play this and do this and do that. You should wrestle." And I knew nothing about it. And I said, oh, okay. So I just showed up and wrestled. Now, for me, it's a little bit different. My parents were not involved with me in sports. They weren't there. I went and did all this stuff pretty much on my own. I remember riding my bike to and from school and so on and so forth. But wrestling for me was like, it was a belief. It was a confidence booster. It was like, oh, you can get in there and get after it and be successful. I lost one match. My one year, I lost one match. I went all the way through the entire season, and then I lost my first match in the tournament, which was devastating at the time. But it also taught me a life lesson, I think. And when I look back at it, is like, you still can succeed past that and still have a, whatever. That wasn't like the all be all end all. I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly what wrestling taught me, except it's possible. Like,
you have to dig in a little deeper. Yeah. You have to dig in a little deeper. And for sure, you have. What about you, Chad? You competed?
I did at white belt a handful of times. My last time I competed was at purple belt. It was a long time ago. So I have, though. Yeah, I have. I never did very well. I think I won, and I tell my students now, when it's like, they question competing, like, oh man, I don't want to embarrass you, or I don't want to embarrass the gym. And, my thought is, what I tell them is, you will never do that by wins and losses. That could happen if you act in a way you shouldn't, to represent the gym and that kind of stuff. But, but I have competed. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to share my spiel with you guys and the listeners about jiu-jitsu competition. So number one, this is a fact. You do not, you really don't have to compete to get the benefits of jiu-jitsu, and you guys already know that.
Right.
Sure. Right? It's a fact. Everything that you do in training, that's where the magic is happening. the everyday training, the building that emotional resilience of getting your ass kicked, go back in again, and not just quitting. You know what I mean? So there's so many lessons. So what is the plus that nowadays I'd not always have this spiel? Okay, this is like after over 30 years of jiu-jitsu. So I say you don't need or you don't have to compete to enjoy the benefits of jiu-jitsu. However, because jiu-jitsu is a personal development tool, fact.
Yes.
Personal and not personal development, not just personal and social development tool. However, if you want to amplify the power of this tool, jiu-jitsu, it's a good option. Meaning everything that you go through in training gets amplified in a tournament. Someone gets your assignment out in a school, well, that kind of sucks. But when someone gets your assignment out in a tournament, like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that really sucks.
Watching, you know what I mean? Like, everything gets amplified. You're gonna road someone, maybe you go to open mat or whatever, maybe you got a little bit of kicking in anxiety a little bit, like, ooh, I don't know, like, but okay. And then you train and go to a tournament, that multiplies by 10, so all that gets amplified. So with that said, I wasn't, as I mentioned, I thought like that. But now I'm not really involved with high level, which I did for 2 decades of my life, as far as like training people for high level. But I inspire people to compete as a personal development tool, a way for you to challenge yourself mentally and emotionally. I'm not really concerned. I already lived this phase of like, the team needs to win and we're going to get the trophy. There's nothing wrong with that. I live that. And I don't have that drive anymore. So it's like, do you want to compete? You do for yourself, for your own reasons. For example, Terry, what is a good, because I had conversations with students talking about the same thing you just told them about your kids and stuff like that. Dude, let me tell you something. If great ways to influence people, like if you think about you or the listeners, you think about the most influential people in your life. Like a top 3 most influential people, most likely this person challenged you, most likely they changed the way you think, and the third one, they were a role model. If you have all 3, you have a full package. You know what I mean? Someone that is really influential, that someone was pushing, someone that make you like think, or being a role model. So Terry, I'm saying this as a motivation for you, for your kids, to have an influence, a positive, and I'm not saying that you don't have, I'm saying another way to influence in a positive way, it's being that role model. There's many ways to being a role model. But what I'm saying is you being there in front of them, showing that dad is not Superman. Daddy wins, daddy loses.
Sure.
But he's trying trying their best. So it's because if you have the feeling like, oh, I don't want to lose in front of my son, like, dude, this is one of the things that might take. Well, of course, there's so many takeaways from competition, but the first thing that comes to my mind is, get this: you don't get the outcome that you want anytime you want, the way you want. Meaning, you don't win any tournament that you want, or match that you want the way you want. No, dude. There's other people have goals and dreams too, have aspirations.
Yeah.
And you need to respect that. Each one have their own time, and you got to do the best you can with the tools and knowledge you have at this moment. Maybe next week you have a better one, but right now, this is all you have. So learning how to respect that. And in your case, Terry, is just sharing to them and telling like, yes, dad is trying and is going to win, he's going to lose. And that's the part that I love about competition for kids, like this 101 individual sport.
Yeah.
In a way that I remember I had one of my students, the lady trained, and then the son was competing for the first time. He's probably like 6 years old. So they went to like the 3-minute match. They kind of did their own thing there. And then he lost by points, start crying. So he's not physically hurt. He's emotionally hurt. Like, lost, like all this stuff. And I told her, like, I know that we want him doing well. Okay. That's an undesired outcome. We want him to win. However, this is probably one of the best things this kid went through, because young, he knows that like, you don't get the outcome that you want anytime I want just because you want and you're going to win. Yeah. Other people want too. So, because sometimes it happens. Kids win. It happens. I see this all the time. And when they finally lose, the world just crashes and burns. They're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world because they lost a match. So sometimes losing right away, that's one of the best things. Like, see, you're still alive. Nothing changes. You're still, like for those, you're still going to work. You're still going to do your thing. Life goes on. You know what I mean? So it's not that big of a monster that a lot of people can make. So I think you should, I don't know what is the mindset or your why, to compete.
Sure.
But this is a good way to see it as an inspiration, which I always did. I wanted, like, when I was younger, I wanted to compete. I don't think nowadays I did what I did. I'm involved in other things, but I would think about that. Like, yeah, I want to make my son proud that, like seeing that are like, can tell, he can tell his, kids and, and like how grandpa was, tough, and you go there and you try stuff, you know what I mean? Like, so I'll just
build that legacy of that build of teaching and learning and from them as well. Like you give that to them when you're doing that, when you're going through that cycle.
Yeah. I just had something in my mind. I haven't talked because this I just read yesterday, but so I mentioned I've been promoting tournaments since 1998 in Brazil. Nice. And in Arizona since 2000. And man, kids sports is not easy. Well, not easy. The kids, the problem is the parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I coach youth. Yeah. I have a 9-year-old and I've coached a lot of sports, and right now I'm coaching his baseball team. So you see the craziness, you know what I mean? Like it's wild. So I saw it. This is just for people who are listening. Of course, probably most people not going to relate or maybe understand where I'm coming from. Just understand that I've been promoting tournaments for this long. IBJJF released a ranking for the kids. I just saw that. Yeah.
Personally, it's too much.
So my first initial reaction, Gustavo, when I read that headline and Chad, literally, I think they just posted this yesterday. I may have scrolled on Instagram, saw it, and I thought, as a coach, and I've coached youth sports. I've been blessed enough to coach baseball teams that have gone to the Little League World Series, like not in the series, but we went over, we competed, lost, so on and so forth. And I thought that is not a good idea to give ranks to children. Like, but who am I? That's how I try to say it in my own head.
So let me tell you, like probably like 10 years ago, always with tournaments, I try different things, different things forever. And at one point I did like a MVP thing of the year, right? So we got, like someone that stood out the most, maybe that outcome based, basically. And I'll have a bunch of tournaments during the year. And then I made the poor option. I did it for 2 years, so I wasn't. I repeated the error in my opinion, but it is what it is. So I said I'm going to do an MVP for the kids. God, so now one kid goes, and then there's maybe there's a ref mistake or whatever. So now the parents losing his shit because he's not gonna get into the MVP. His points are I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, you're missing the whole point, dude, of having them competing. So, and then I started having parents messaging me like, he's got this here, he got this many wins, and then I'm like, it's over. Oh, you're not gonna have any more? No. Why? Because I'm sick of it. Yeah. Like I don't want to do it. Yeah. So, don't get me wrong. Is it good for the organization financially?
Sure. I'm sure. Exactly. Yeah. That's where I kind of thought maybe that's where it was going. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but
it comes with a price though.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you willing to
be like, my son is the number 1 Pee-wee, 6 years old in world, they have like 2 tournaments in a fucking country. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Down, so personally, man, I think it's just more for the schools are really competitive, be ready for the parents, because some people are going to drive you crazy, just to let you know.
Yeah. I mean, running tournaments, refereeing, all of that stuff is already a thankless job, right? Like you already, now, like you said, adding this is just going to make it 10 times worse.
Yeah, I can't imagine those refs. I mean, I watch parents belittle refs in our league and in my experience in youth sports worse than the coaches do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's I'm sorry, but this is the organization's fault in a way. Why do I say that? Here in Arizona, there's people from Arizona listening, probably. Anyone, regardless who they are, they disrespect the staff. It's not just the ref. It could be someone that cleans the bathroom. The janitor, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever.
Anybody, like there's a reason why I hire not security. I have police officers go like out, and a suspended. Don't come here for 6 months. Don't come here for a year. Like there's no tolerance at all for like a lot of the refs that come to my events. It's cool that they say like it's not about better or worse, but they just say like it's different here. It's different. It wasn't always like that. It took a long time to educate the community.
Sure.
You know what I mean? For a lot of things, but it's not letting like nonsense stuff, disrespectful, yelling, screaming, or whatever. Dude, no way. The parent is done. If the kid's not going to come because the parent, it's not the kid's fault. Okay, and the mom brings, but that dude ain't walking in for a year. And that's it, So, he's not gonna come, dude. The most important thing the most important factor that I protect of the tournament is the vibe. Especially, we do the best we can to treat our staff the best way possible. The referees are taking care very well, and I'll sit and debate with any promoter in the world about this, how well they're treated. And they respect back, and there's a mutual respect. You know what I mean? Like the ref, there's no dude. If there's cursing, the coach and I flip them off, dude. I'd rather get him out. He's a world champion. I don't give a shit. Like this is the example. You know what I mean? Like this guy here. No. Oh, it's one of my students. Yeah, even better. Get him out to set the example to make sure that because it's Gustavo's student. No. So I feel that this is from the organization to crack on it and be like, no, man, we're not gonna tolerate any nonsense. You know what I mean? Like
you have to set it up for
respectful.
You have to set it up for success. And then, like you said, Gustavo, building that mutual relationship with. What if there's a person that they love reffing for whatever reason? I was an umpire in baseball for 5 years, and I still don't know why I did it. But I do look back and think, it was pretty fun, and it was in youth baseball, and it was fine. And I learned a lot about the game because I was a lot younger. But when you build that communication, that respect, that mutual, you build a better system, you build a better program, you build a better vibe, as you said, Gustavo. Like people want to come to it. They look forward to it because they go, you know what? They take care of the people. They care about us. They care about those who want to do it. I'm a ref. That's all I do. And I like doing it. And you know what? That's a place I want to do it is because they care about me, and they don't tolerate nonsense that, I just say it and it's important. That goes a long way. And I think sometimes I think we get away from that, or we've gotten away from it even worse with social media and youth watching so much social media or watching, professionals or whatever, and thinking they can pull that off or do that. And it's like, that's unacceptable. Like you do not do that. And you're not there yet. You know what I mean? And then the parents have it in their heads to where they're going to be that person. So then they just keep going on and they're like badgering their own kid and everyone else involved. I'm hoping it changes as a whole, but it's hard. it's very hard.
It is. And man, as I mentioned, I came here to Arizona in 2000. There's no really like back then 2000 competition scene in US. It was, have a few years they started pants and stuff like that. So there was a very small scene, but I always liked promoting events since I was a child, promoting like kids competitions and stuff like that, all kinds of stuff. Like I enjoyed organizing events. And I remember, so there is a quote that says, let your irritations inspire you. So what does it mean? Maybe you have something that a lot of the businesses start like that. Maybe someone started maybe a podcast because they're sick of like, there's no podcast to talk about.
Sure.
I'm going to do it. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This restaurant sucks. This is the worst in the area. They should do this work. Well, do something about it, dude. Yeah, I'm going to open a restaurant. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to let your irritations inspire you to do something better. When I moved to Arizona, there's only one tournament, and I have to say it was a joke. You can tell some organization, it's a very thin line. I understand that it's a business, but it feels like a little too over aggressively financially speaking of like, we want to make some money.
Sure. Yeah. Trying to make.
I've been doing this for 25 years. You know what I mean? Of course, I do my charity. This is not charity. This is my work. This is a company that I built. But like, you go in to a tournament and it's like, wow, this is a mess. There's no schedule. The referee is a joke. It's disrespectful for people who are attending, the coaches, the sport. And then I go back 2 months later, and that is the same thing.
Same, yeah.
And then I go like, okay, so we got a pattern going on here. It's like, okay, is anyone going to do anything about it? No. So I just put the hat here and said like, okay, I'm the one doing it, and started. So for 4 years, the first one we had 40 competitors inside the school. We did that for 4 years. We couldn't even have enough people. We couldn't even reach 100 competitors during 4 years just because the scene was just too small.
Yeah. Right. I was going to say, and you said 2000, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was doing an interview yesterday, and I mentioned this is just my experience, at least in Arizona, the first major shift that I noticed in Arizona, back then I was in an MMA gym. It was 2004-5, which was the first Ultimate Fighter. That was a game changer.
Sure. Yeah.
I was an MMA
to
gym.
Where people
so we never like even broke 100 people from 2000 to 2004 until the Ultimate Fighter. We never, and we reached like 400. We start to like grow.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So there was, we lived that like, oh my God, people are calling jiu-jitsu. You turn on TV and then you see Joe Rogan talking about that guy got great jiu-jitsu. And then like, what is jiu-jitsu? And you go to Google, jiu-jitsu near me. You know what I mean? So whoever were doing like a good job online, and I was already started doing that in 2000, we start getting like a lot of traction. So around that time, that's when finally we broke 100 people. And then we went to 2005. I did my first tournament out of the academy, and I was the first Arizona State Championship for 150 people. You know what I mean? And started a slow process with the other promoter trying to make things difficult, putting tournaments in the same day, all that like shady stuff, nonsense. But anyway, I just kept doing my own thing, like, hey, whoever wants to come, it's here. I want to wear my red gi. Well, not here. Oh, this is a bunch of bullshit. Don't come. How come you can heel hook? Well, we don't. But the other one you can do, go there.
Yeah.
I want to sign up at the door. Like, we don't do that. But someone else does, dude, go there, because here we're not going to have that. And we started to like little by little doing this. Long story short, 2022, the year that passed, we had 6,000 competitors throughout the year. Events.
Man,
that's amazing.
And I'm not saying this to try to impress you guys and the listeners, but just to convey the point that when you let your irritations really inspire you, and you really take action consistently for a long time, you will see the results. If you're doing like really putting in your work, a serious job, and you know why you're doing the tournament, yes, you will. In our tournaments, you don't see a lot in media. It's not a famous like, oh my God, no, but like our main job is our focus is for Arizona.
Yeah, sure.
We're open to like it's for the Arizona community. I chose not to scale. This is an option. Thank God IBJJF chose to scale because they're all over the world and they put in things, you know what I mean? They travel. Awesome. Most of them, but I don't want to be on the road every weekend doing tournaments, loading the truck. Like I'm good. There's a book, so good, maybe. I didn't know I got this book, and then I started reading. I was like, this is exactly what I've been doing, which is called The Small Giant. I don't remember the name of the author. So The Small Giant basically talk about the premise is companies that chose not to scale to dominate a market.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So basically that's what we did. Like, because I have to promote so much to maybe have like 1 or 2% of people from out of state.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because there's so many tournaments in California, Nevada, you know what I mean? And they don't have to travel to Arizona. You can compete in like tournaments all the time. We do get some randoms, like people that come that sometimes they're visiting people. They have, I have a friend in town, or sometimes people that have been to the tournaments and they like the way we run things.
Sure.
Yeah. And they come.
How many do you run a year, Gustavo?
Six
total. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Man, I commend you because you state, I mean, if people out there understand this, and I've spoken of this on the show before, is that, if you're going to do something, I love what you said, to use your irritation as your driver, as your inspiration. I'm actually, when I go back and edit this, I'm going to write that down and I hang up. One thing I started doing too is people that we've had on the show, things that really inspire me, I will write them down and put them up on my wall in front of me and where I work.
It's from a book, and I was trying to see if I could get it here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it right now.
If you find it, message Chad or us and email us or whatever.
It's not a famous. It's not a famous book per se.
Sure. Some of those are the greatest books when they're not famous.
I'll struggle to find it because it's a thin book.
Sure.
I got involved with the National Speakers Association for Public Speaking in 2013 maybe. And so I was there one time just watching this guy speak, and it was like the 7 profitable ways to, it's like 7 steps to profit on your passion. It was a very cool book that, so one of the steps was that let your irritations inspire you, so that's why I kept that. Ian Percy, his name is, I don't remember. I would have to find the book, but anyway, that really like opened my eyes to a lot of things. And the guy, I met with him a couple of times and kind of brainstormed some stuff. So it was awesome to hear. And that's a good way for people that, if you're not happy with the current situation professionally or something, you can change. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you can change.
Right.
You don't have to stay there. Some people maybe know Jim Rohn, one of my favorite motivational speakers. He passed like 10 years ago. He'll say, like, you're not a tree. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You're not rooted to the ground. Like, you can move.
You can move, and one of the things that Jim Rohn says, if someone that is listening right now, and maybe because we talk a lot about this in my podcast is dedicated to entrepreneurs, high performers, community leaders who have jiu-jitsu in their lives, right? Yeah. So basically, we talk a lot about personal development and life. And one of my favorite quotes that I lived at when I moved to the United States by Jim Rohn is, work full-time on your living, part-time on your dream. And one day, with a lot of patience, perseverance, and discipline, your part-time can become your full-time. So with that said, I'm not saying I don't like what I do, but I can't just stop. I'm not saying for you to just quit and say screw it and then leave your family hanging. However, it'd be like you got to start doing, like, that means you're gonna sleep less. Or like, well, but I have my kids, well, I'll give attention to the kids, put the kids in bed and go grind. But I'm going to sleep 6 hours. Like, well, stay on, or 4 hours. Well, so stay with your job that you don't like and you hate. If that's the case, so be it. So I'm always like, I'd say, like, if you don't want to do anything about it, you're not allowed to bitch.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
God, like,
yeah.
If someone is grinding and doing, I have sympathy and like, keep it up. But if you're not, and you're still bitching about it, I'll be like, no, that's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Sure.
Like you're gonna have to put, especially if this is the case, that you're gonna have to double up. I moved to the United States with exactly $2,700. That money was gone in 10 days. I didn't know what a Social Security was. I didn't know what a credit was. I had to rent a place in Las Vegas, and my first they had to pay the 3 months in advance. That was $2,200 plus $250 for deposit for the power, electricity, and $250 for the phone. And then I was like, hell, mine is already gone. I thought I was doing great without a job, and to be able to actually, like, okay, work full-time on my living, which was working construction, painting, gardening, security, all kinds of stuff, but jiu-jitsu. And then eventually I had the opportunity to teach jiu-jitsu twice a week. Like, there we go. We got a little thing. Yeah. So since 2005, my last job was out of jiu-jitsu, not related jiu-jitsu, or not related jiu-jitsu, let's put it this way, that I did not like. It was house cleaning. And I got to a point that, the tournament starts to turn around. Again, the jiu-jitsu scene, because of the MMA, started to pick up. Sure. And I made a promise to myself since 2005. I said, from now on, I only work with what I want, who I want, the way I want. If I don't like something, if it's not aligned with what I believe, I don't do it. And for money or whatever, I don't. Not like, usually everything is end up being related to jiu-jitsu, but if it's not jiu-jitsu, it's personal development, it's growth, it's stuff that I like. But I choose not to. I had to do a lot of shit that I didn't like, that I didn't want to.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with cleaning houses. However, I didn't picture, I was going to college. I didn't think I was going to be cleaning toilets, and that's okay. But as long as I knew that was like, and I knew I couldn't even build a business to that, because I started to understand it, like, dude, I can hire people to do and stuff like that. But I felt like it wasn't for me. I was like, I can make a business out of this. But I was like, you know what? Now I only want to work with what I want, who I want. So there's a price to pay.
There is. And you have to be willing to pay that price if you want to be successful in something you want to be successful in. I tell people all the time, even when I'm coaching, I'm like, you have to be willing to pay that price, because you're not going to be successful if you don't. Because we're all going to pay a price in some fashion, some way, that we're doing stuff in our life. No one is waking up and just have it all. Yes, there are exceptions. I understand that. Let's take an athletic person, for example. Let's take people who are in our world, in our community in jiu-jitsu, that are professionals. They didn't wake up and they were just instantaneously perfect at it. They had to pay a price. Somewhere along the line, they've paid prices, and they stayed steadfast in it, and they worked, and, they worked through those prices that they had to pay to be where they are. And that's correlation is in everyday life that we do this. It's always funny when I hear people complaining or saying stuff, whether it's at work or in an average conversation day to day or whatever. Sometimes I will ask them, well, well, what are you doing? Are you doing anything? And I will approach that as like, what are you doing to change that or remedy that? Or have you thought about it? Or what perspective are you putting on it outside of you just telling me this is the worst thing ever going on? Or this is happening to you because of this and that, really, back to what we were talking about earlier in the show. And then a lot of times either they'll tell me they're not doing anything and they didn't think about it, or I'm not supportive because I'm challenging them in that way. You know what I mean? Like presenting those questions to them instead of just agreeing with them instantly. Like, yeah, you're right. And this is the way it is. And it's like, it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Where are you perspectively putting your mindset at? What are you doing? What are you thinking about? Like, I understand you're upset or whatnot in this nature of what you're doing, but slow down, think about it, absorb it, and then go from there. As you said earlier, Gustavo, like don't put that label on it right away. You know what I mean?
And I tell you what, man, now I'm 48 and I have lived officially 24 years in Brazil, 24 in the US.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That is. I mean, it's awesome to hear. I love it. But
it just plays a movie, you know what I mean? Like how I came here, like I have no clue what the hell was going on, man. I was just so naive. If I knew what I was going to go through, I'd be like, well, you're out of your mind. It's so naive. I think it was good. You know what I mean? Like when you like,
was jiu-jitsu the driver? Like, was it like the reason? Were you like, yes, I want to go to America and do this?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I started training in 1989, right? So by 1992, I was in my like 17-ish, somewhere around there, 17, 18. And in Brazil, it's a common thing usually. I don't know how it is now. Again, I left many years ago, but it wasn't like, it's not easy to find like jiu-jitsu school, meaning you rent a building and you teach jiu-jitsu out of the school. Nowadays, it happens a lot more. But again, I can say from here in the United States, but like it's a fitness gym and they have a room that they rent. They do a deal with a coach, and then sometimes they split 50-50. And that's what I did. I started teaching in Brazil in 95, and I stayed there 95 to 98 doing that. But before that, it was kind of like seeing the coach, and then I'm like, all right, so you can just kind of do jiu-jitsu anytime you want and kind of get paid for it? Is that how it works? You know what I mean? I kind of like that gig, so that kind of just sounds like a good gig for me. However, try in the 90s, try to explain to your parents that I'm going to pursue jiu-jitsu. They like, what? You know what I mean?
I was going to ask, did you have were your parents influencers of jiu-jitsu, or was it because like you grew up in Brazil? I know, the heart of it and everything being in Brazil and stuff. So was that like the big influence?
Dude, the early 90s, like Brazil was, jiu-jitsu wasn't as big as people think.
Really?
Was back then. No, it was more like an underground thing. Big time.
Oh, wow.
Big time.
Did you know this, Chad?
Yeah.
I'm sure you knew this. See, this is how we always do this, Gustavo. I know nothing. Chad is the black belt of the show, my coach. So
only about like 1993 it started to like really take off because of they have a big Vale Tudo Jiu-Jitsu against Luta Livre. It was 93. No, 93 was the Vale Tudo was, I think, was 91. 93 was UFC and the first Brazilian Nationals. 94 the Confederation was created. But to that point, so that Vale Tudo was a big thing because it's shown global. It's like showing Fox, like the biggest channel, whatever.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that really started to explode in Rio. So I kind of live like that kind of growth. And already made a decision. And then for my family, in a way, it's kind of like I didn't grow up with my dad, single mom, raising two boys with no child support. And the thing is that it's very interesting. People have different perceptions about the meaning of success. Maybe success for me is different to you, and then and people who are listening right now. maybe the vision of listening is like, hey, of success is whatever they got from the parents, they got from their grandparents. Say like, hey, success means you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get stable, and you get a nice pension, you retire it, and then you're good. For some people, you know what I mean? Like, regardless if you hate the shit.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So so unfortunately, that's the vision that my mom had of success. You know, you go to college, you get a job, the whole thing. However, I have an entrepreneurial DNA, and young, you know, I realized that wasn't going to work for me. And then as I mentioned, gyms, they have room to have jiu-jitsu classes. So my goal was, because in Brazil, a lot of shit doesn't work as far as laws and stuff like that, but there's some reason work. It's incredible. And one of them is like, for you to work on a gym as a personal trainer, unless you're a trainee going through college and stuff like that, you actually need a 4-year degree. You don't do a weekend course. And you will not be a personal trainer with a course. So you have an idea, when I moved, that's the degree that I got. When I moved to the US, and at one point I tried to I worked as a personal trainer too. And then they said, like, do you have the certification? This is like, no, but I went to college for 4 years, physical. No, but you need a course. So you're telling me that the weekend course, and they're like, yes,
is all I had to do.
I was like, okay. So I did some bullshit online test, and I'm like, certified. You know what I mean? So like, hey, that's the American way, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So my goal was, I go to college, I get my physical education degree, I open a fitness gym that I can work with, like fitness area, and I have the jiu-jitsu. So that was kind of my goal. But even that, my mom decided, because your senior year, it's very different college in Brazil than here. In Brazil, we'll have like state and federal universities that you have like a full ride, 4-year full ride. However, you have one yearly test that, you know, you need to pass. If you pass, you go in. If not, you might have to do a test for a private school, and sure, you know, but like going to a federal university or state, that's what everyone shoots for, free university. Right. But you need to have, and I was lucky that my mom made all the efforts for me to have a good education. So basically you do like one test, and I chose physical education. She lost her shit, you know, when I said like, because she worked at Shell Oil, like a company and stuff. You know, she got promoted a little bit. She started like really low. And then she became the secretary, the president's secretary. So,
nice. Okay.
So she really worked extremely hard to get there. So for me to say that, she was like, "You're not gonna make any money. You're gonna be working PE teacher at school." And I was like, "Who's talking about money?" You know what I mean? So we had different visions of what success
is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very complicated. And here's the thing. Usually you're going to adopt some of your parents or whoever people around, you're going to adopt some of the patterns, or you're going to rebel against some of those patterns. And this is what me rebelling. So that's when sometimes parents need to be careful with conditional love. Conditional love mean, as long as you do what I'm telling you to do, I love you. And if you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know, why is such a rebel? Why he doesn't listen to me? I'm trying to tell him to be successful, and he doesn't listen to me.
Yeah.
And then everyone said, like, Gustavo's the rebel of the family. He's fucking crazy. And years later, like, oh, Gustavo's the entrepreneur of the year. I was like, oh, nice.
The tunes have changed.
We knew you. Yeah, we knew you could do it
all the way.
Right.
My brother was the only one that actually believed, you know, me, that I actually could do it. My family was like, it's like, you need to be very careful. Like and here's the thing, dude. You have people around you, they're like anchors or balloons. You know, people are going to help you to elevate you. People are going to help you to sink you. Yeah. And unfortunately, many of those anchors, that's a proper word, right? The anchor, like to really
yeah.
Like many times they're inside your house. They're passing their own insecurities, looking for your best though. In their mind, they think they're doing the best. Don't go. You're gonna lose. You're going to fail. Stay here with us.
Right.
They think that it's the best thing. You know what I mean? And now you need to make a choice. Do I say like, yeah, I'll stay with everyone here? So it wasn't like I'm like, guys, can I go? I'm like, yo, I'm just letting y'all know. I'm selling my car and moving to the US. You know what I mean? Like, all right, peace.
See you later.
So I couldn't go back to Brazil with my tail between my legs. You know what I mean? Saying like, hey, everyone, I'm back. It didn't work out.
Sure.
You know, like I had to like, no. To this day, I flew into Las Vegas when I arrived. I lived in Vegas for 2 years. And to this day, I walk in, I have the little terminal when you leave Vegas and we get out of the plane and it goes to get your luggage and everything. And right away gives me the memory of hitting my anxiety, of reminding me, because when I landed, that's the anxiety that hit me. And that said like, holy shit, I'm here.
Like
you know what I mean?
There's no going back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's no, so it really, the anxiety to this day, this 24 years ago. And every time I go to Vegas, that is impossible, especially if I'm going through the airport. It's almost impossible for me not to get that little boom kind of hit on my chest of like remembering of like what was like. So with that said, I did a big turn just to talk about what you're saying, like how some people sometimes they're not like, I have no sympathy to me, like I'm
right.
And kind of like just complaining, right?
Sure.
But like, man, the United States is an incredible country. Like a lot of people that have never left the country, I feel this is just Gustavo's opinion, that why the people in the military are so patriotic, you know what I mean? Because they go to some jacked up place and like, God damn, you know what I mean? Like,
they see the worst of the worst.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So they come back more like, you know what I mean? For the most part, I'm completely ignorant. Sure. I'm completely ignorant with this. So I'm just saying,
makes sense.
You've seen other things, you know what I mean? And that's why you see a lot of very successful immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Here, because they don't play around. They're like, dude, what do you guys complain? Is it perfect in the United States? No, but try Central and South America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try, dude, corruption. If people think that corruption is bad in the US, fuck, you guys have no clue.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
No clue.
It's amazing the amount. It's not amazing just because we live in a country of, I live here, born here. Of ignorant people, like just plain and simple, because of this, because exactly what you're saying, Gustavo. When people were always like, oh, like, well, immigrants can come and be, super successful and everything. And I said, do you understand what it's like for them, where they came from? Do you ever sit and stop and think in perspective? They are going to work so hard because they don't want to go back to that. They deserve it. They deserve as much as I deserve anything else. You deserve it as much as they deserve it, but you're not willing to work for it. You're not willing to push yourself for it, and they are. So stop blaming them. Stop acting ignorant. I tell people this all the time. They don't like it because you're not true and you're not patriotic. And I was like, call me whatever you want. I'm just calling the way that it actually is, and you don't like it because you don't want to work hard enough. You don't want to push yourself hard enough. You want
that entitlement sense.
You want the entitlement because you've grown up in a society of entitlement. And that's what we've been in America. It's an entitlement country. We own everything. We should have everything. We deserve everything. That's ours. We're better than every other country. Well, if you are, then keep working for it and stop blaming people that want to come here and work for it, because they got an opportunity to come here from something that may or may not have been the worst thing in the world, but it's better here. Let's be honest. We know this. So let them be. Stop it. Support them, help them. Like I've said it so many times, and like my wife will be like, oh no, like someone asked Terry about something and I'm like, knock it off. Or if I'm I've been around people, they make dumb comments about something, and I go, they're not coming here. Immigrants are not coming to America to steal you or whatever. You have that opportunity too. You are not doing anything. You're not doing it. They're just doing it. They're going to school. They're going to this. They're doing that. So stop it. And people can attack me all they want. I will never back down from that stance. It's very strong in me, obviously, in my heart about that part.
Yeah, I go back to Brazil often.
I was going to ask you if you get to go back. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I go there. I was there February, and I went there to film like a mini doc series. We did like 4 episodes, so we're just finishing this week and hopefully editing the first one. So what we did, we went to help promote Jiu-Jitsu Tribe. So we have a lot of organizations. So by the way, before I get to that too, for people who are listening for the first time, don't know about Jiu-Jitsu Tribe, it's a nonprofit that 501c3 nonprofit we co-founded in 2010. And basically our mission is to inspire, impact, and improve lives in impoverished communities, not just in Brazil, worldwide.
Nice.
It just happens that in Brazil, there are a lot of jiu-jitsu social projects. Now, right now we have a relationship with about 15 organizations in Brazil, 1 in Cameroon, Africa, 1 in the United States. Why not more in the United States as far as like supporting the social project? Because there's no such programs here. So there's one in Tucson called Higher Ground. They do an incredible after school program. Incredible. And so we have 2 approaches. The first one is mental health related, and that's something that is growing more here in Arizona since I'm from here. I did a pilot a few years ago in my academy with this organization called Resilient Health. It's a behavior center for kids with depression disorders and anxiety disorder, depression, and so forth, and utilizing jiu-jitsu as a tool. Meaning they already have someone work with them, they have a mentor, and jiu-jitsu on top of that. So we don't just kind of like, hey, you can't afford to come here, train jiu-jitsu. It would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But we decided to choose a mental health route. Meaning, so at my school, we sponsor, actually, it was 10 kids. We did 5 for the kids, 5 for the teens. We ran a program. We did it for 3 months, extend for 3 more. And it's incredible. You guys see the changes. I mean, you guys see the change on yourself, for people who are listening, the changes jiu-jitsu has made in your life, and with kids as well. You see like the impact. So we did it a few times. However, it's in Phoenix, and it's kind of a drive, and commute was a problem. So I started to do a partnership with the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League, that is my company, and Jiu-Jitsu Tribe with the schools. So when I moved to Arizona, there's probably like 6-7 schools in the state. Right now, there's over 150. So I started to connect with people and saying like, do you want to sponsor 1 student? It's a 6 months program. So Resilient Health, they identify the kid, that they're already working with them. The kid does have an interest to do some type of activity. So they do have the mentor. And then the academy provides the gi, and you sponsor 1 kid for 6 months. At 3 months, you stop, check in, and make sure they're doing okay. And if it's working because the kid is messing around, it'll be like, yo, cut it. That's it. Like if he's doing a good job. And then after the 6 months, the school can reevaluate. Do you want to extend and do 6 more months or whatever? That's up to each one. So that's one approach that we use. We'd love to eventually, the goal is to take to other states. But in order to do that, we need to have a partnership with other behavior centers that they can use that and use jiu-jitsu. So that's one approach that I use. And the other approach is sustainability related, with social projects that offer jiu-jitsu classes for free. That could be providing mats, construction, gis, and paying for the coach's salary. This is something that we started a program called Adopt a Social Project that is to help paying the coach, because many projects, they end because the guys say like, dude, I need to get a job, you know, like I need to get on a job.
Right,
and most of those guys, they don't have money for themselves, and they're already even giving that extra, taken out of their pockets. So that's a big part that we're doing too. So another one that we try to focus more, we did a partnership, big shout out to Browse Fight company, Renato Santos he already been in my podcast twice. That's another relationship that I developed because of the podcast. And he is my sponsor now, the number one sponsor for Jiu-Jitsu Tribe. Browse is an incredible company. They have the Browse Foundation that is water related. They do a lot of work in Pakistan. I love that company because of that, because they're so like, and a lot of people like they support Browse because of the community aspect that they do, the social work, and be like cool, and they have cool products too. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah.
So now we're doing 3 launches a year. We just had our first one. It's a Browse Jiu-Jitsu Tribe gi. So every gi that if you purchase, you're the listener, you go there and like, I'm going to support, I'm going to buy a gi. Because if you're buying a gi, we're producing a brand new gi for a child from a social project.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we just finished our first batch. Right now, we're going to ship. It's being produced as I speak. Next, it should arrive in May. In 3 gis, but we're producing 150 gis, nice gis, not just kind of thin, flimsy, like nice gis for kids from social projects. So that's cool that you donate, but you see it, nice. I can actually see the kid that is wearing the gi.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's like a return on your investment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you get to see it.
Yeah, so it's cool that we do, because we're not gonna have inventory, we really can't. I want to deal with that.
Oh yeah,
I really do enough. So it's like, hey, 3 times a year, black gi, white gi, blue gi, and then whoever wants to support it, boom, that's it. And we finished, I think it was the end of February 28th, I think was the last day. And then we promised by May 1st, everyone's going to receive their gis. So it's cool that people are supporting as long as they know, like, yo, by the way, it's going to take 2 months for you to get your gi. Are you okay with that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then cool. So basically you have this going on right now. So I have the opportunity to travel in Brazil and visit those things, those places, because it is life-changing, man. That's why a lot of I go back to the military, how people but there's no way for you not to be impacted with what you see, exactly. like in rough countries. There's no way, and they're in a way more extreme scenario than I am. You know what I mean? They're fighting, and they at the same time for their lives too. You know what I mean? I'm going to visit places and so forth. So we went there in February, and we visited 4 places, and each place was a theme. Like one day was drug addiction and drug trafficking. So we interviewed the coach and 2 people that got impacted because of that. One day was special needs. One day was mental health, like talking with a parent of a kid 11 years old, like suicidal, and you know what I mean, and how jiu-jitsu changed him. And I asked her, she started crying, said this kid was doing therapy, doing all kinds of stuff. They got into, and this is like this like rural area in Rio that they're completely forgotten. Yeah. They're like, and the mom said, I said, how long did it take for you to see the improvement? And she said 3 days, 3 classes.
Wow.
3 classes. This kid tried to kill himself. You know what I mean? Working with to psychologists and all that kind of stuff. So that is the kind of impact that not just jiu-jitsu, but those programs, they have. And we had one day was competition related. So it's a lot of like social development. Kids, I know plenty of them that they used to be in the favelas, the slums, and they have a school in the United States now. They have in Europe, in Australia, and different places, meaning the sport gave them the opportunity to to give him a better life. So we went to, there's a program we've been supporting for a while in City of God. Have you guys watched this movie, City of God?
I have not.
I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
Dude, gotta put it in your list. I'm telling you, it's gonna terrify. You're gonna be like, I would never go to Brazil. You know, but
I don't know if I want to watch it now. Maybe I want to go to Brazil. No,
it's top two, my top two favorite Brazilian movies ever.
Nice. Okay.
It's intense. So I've been supporting the academy that they have inside of this called City of God, and the number, I don't know if you guys follow the competition scene a lot, but Gabrielle Peçanha, she's the number one female competitor in the world right now. She's been winning double gold and everything of IBJJF. She's from that program. So she started there at 12 years old. Now this girl travels the world. So, I know, like basically supports her family. She's what? I don't even know. She's 21. She might be 20 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She
supports her family because of jiu-jitsu. And by the way, we couldn't go. That was the only one. I interviewed Marcio, the leader. I went to meet with him in a tournament and stuff to interview him because of the shooting was so bad. It was so like intense. We couldn't get into the town.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was that bad. It wasn't the news and everything, like big news because so it's a big like cartel territory, like wars and stuff. Man,
is that that's still the same? Like it's not getting any better?
Oh no, in Rio especially? No.
Same, or is it worse?
No, it's worse.
Worse.
Man,
such a shame.
It's not just because of that, it's because the corruption. The police involved. Politicians are involved. You know what I mean? How do they get weapons? How do they get those weapons? You know what I mean? Somehow they get weapons that are like produced all over the world. Like, here we go. They have weapons that not even the police have. Like, how does that work? You know what I mean? How do they get that? So there's so many like things, and there's so many kickbacks from. So my two suggestions for you guys and for the listeners, 2 movies for you to look. One is City of God. And the other one is Elite Squad. Elite Squad, there's 1 and 2.
Okay.
That it's like there's no better representation of Rio de Janeiro. That's it. That's it. This year, like what are you looking at? Like that's it. To have an idea, the director, he had to move out of Brazil. He lives
because of producing that. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he doesn't live there anymore. Incredible director, and we started threatening him, and he had to like really bail. It's an incredible movie, but you see like, fuck, that's wrong. As far as politicians getting
right, exactly. Yeah.
That's the sketchy thing about it. And then the police and how it's brutal. But
I have a question.
I was talking. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about Gabriella. I know she's competing now, right? And everything you said.
Yeah.
This could be a very dumb question, but Gustavo is best to ask you. Does she speak English at all, or
she's learning?
Learning, okay.
Learning because she got a good the name of the program is TMD House.
Okay.
And Marcia got a partnership with Seda College from Ireland. Tiago, he's the owner, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And they have a building, the Seda College, that actually have English as second language in Ireland. So they make a lot of like, it's a lot easier to get visas to go to study there, so you can go to Ireland to study English and work. And they have a lot of like online classes as well, online programs. So they sponsor them, kind of giving access for the competitors that want to go to another level and study. You know what I mean? So she's starting to develop, and I don't know what's her level, but I know that she's definitely a learning.
My mind instantly was like, I would love to talk to her. That's why I asked.
Yeah, like, I don't think she's
not there yet.
Like that conversational stage yet. Yeah. I would be surprised, but I really don't think. But we can talk. I can definitely get you in contact with Tiago from Seda College. He's a brown belt, travels all over. He's like the main supporter for a TMD, and then they're supporting a lot of like jiu-jitsu projects too. Incredible guy, super aggressive entrepreneur with a lot of different projects and highly involved with social projects. He moved to Ireland with nothing.
Nice.
And he's probably, if not the most successful Brazilian entrepreneur in Ireland.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. So that shows a lot.
Like, that's awesome. In when we speak of jiu-jitsu, when we talk about our community, like, it's important for people to hear that. It's important for people that continuously train in this amazing martial art, that there are people that have done great things. You know what I mean? That not just win a gold medal or top of the line type thing from a professional standpoint. They've done something else that's totally different than what anyone would ever put in perspective that does jiu-jitsu, or they don't think about it. So I'm so glad and honored to hear that. Like you speaking of that, Gustavo. It's amazing, man. I love it. That's great. Thank you.
Whoever wants to learn more about, and there's some other like jiu-jitsu related nonprofits, like Guardian Project. They do an incredible job.
I've heard of that. Yep.
So I talked with Alan Shabaro from We Defy Foundation. They're doing a great job with the military, introducing jiu-jitsu to them, to veterans and stuff. So there's all kinds of organizations, and not just like, I support an organization called Charity Water. There's nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but they do such an incredible, amazing job. I read the guy's book. What his name? Scott, forgot his last name. But anyway, charitywater.org. I've been supporting them for about 5 years.
Nice.
Incredible what they do. And man, when I was in Brazil the last time, it was an intense 1 week. Usually it depends, but this one in Rio was for a week. And I try to really like reflect on what is my takeaway, and my takeaway from that one was, there's two. Number one is Brazil is fucked. I'm sorry. They're in trouble.
Sure.
They're in trouble.
Sure.
And like, the poor people are in trouble. And now expand, not in Brazil. Like, we have poverty in US too. We do have rough areas. And I'm sorry, dude, but the politicians are not too concerned with the lower class, the poverty. Not at all. And that's what my main takeaway is. I don't know what the world would be, and especially third world countries, if it wasn't for nonprofit organizations. Because I go to some place. I was in one that's like in a hill called Morro, to a social project there, that only in Brazil, that you go to, like, in the top of the hill. You go to California, you go to Hawaii, and like, everyone's like, wow, he lives in the hills, he's looking up. Brazil is the only place that you live in a hill, like in a shack, and you have the best view in town.
In fact,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. I've seen in some that I've been there, I'm like, I look around like, dude, anywhere in the planet, this here to be expensive as hell.
Right, exactly.
Like, you see the ocean, you see the Sugarloaf, and you see the statue, and I'm like, oh, look at all this. You know what I mean? But there, and I'm walking around, and there's trash everywhere. The garbage truck doesn't go there. They don't care about them. You know what I mean? And then I start walking around, and I'm noticing they had like, kind of like, sort of tents. What's the material we're gonna try? Some kind of like canvas, or because it's a lot of like little tiny like space in between houses. You walk in a favelas, and so the cartel knew that I was going there because we had a camera. You just don't walk in a place that is dominated by cartels. So like, hi everyone, we're just filming here, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, yo, the community leader knows they bring in people, they bring in camera. If at any time he goes like this with a hand down, that means put the camera point down. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to film whatever you're going through. As long as you respect, it's all good. So I'm walking by, like, the drug dealers are, quotations, working. Big table, packing all their shit, kids playing around, nothing, no big deal. And then I start noticing tents everywhere, right? And the guy caught me kind of looking up, like, and then he go like, curious about that? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, with technology, the police start using drones. So to start filming where they're doing their shit. So they start to spread out tents all over town so they don't see where the shit is happening. Yeah. So it's the cat mouse game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do this. Okay. How are we going to do this here? You're going to do this. Okay. We're going to do this here. So
wow, man,
that war, that shit will never end. You're not going to end that war. It's not going to end. There's no way. There's no way.
That's too bad.
I saw a little clip yesterday. There's a documentary. I don't know if they have subtitles. I haven't watched. Someone sent me a link yesterday. Like, dude, I gotta watch this about Rio and the war in Rio. And they said that currently in Rio, the cartel army. I'm not saying that everyone's buddies. Like, I'm saying from like they have different groups. Like they have, I think, maybe 3 or 4 different like major groups or whatever. Their army, it's 56,600,000 people. You know what I mean? The estimate minimum.
Sure.
Like they even said like Portugal's army is 25,000 people. Just their army in general.
Just army in general. Sure. Right.
You know what I mean? Like in Rio, and we're not accounting for the corrupt cops, the corrupt politicians. You know what I mean? That elevate and make and give power to those numbers. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that would be without like really like nonprofit organizations that all kinds of different
sure.
people that what they do, and they're incredible community leaders. This guy was showing me the place. You know, born and raised there. He's like 56. He's a jiu-jitsu blue belt. Doesn't really train us off, but he's like involved. He goes to the city, argue with people, be like, "You guys need to pick up the fucking trash here." You know what I mean? Like he's fighting. You know, that guy's like they're fighting. So the drug dealers, they tolerate the jiu-jitsu people. Kind of like, you know, I don't kind of like that you take the kids from us.
Right.
But we respect in a way because a lot of them sometimes end up doing something better for their lives. So they're always in that controversial kind of like,
little push-pull.
Yeah, kind of, okay, but not too much.
Sure.
You know, type of deal. And if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, yeah, man. So it's a cool documentary. It's small. I mean, I'm not involved with the added part because I don't know anything about it, but it's definitely tough to get a lot of footage, a lot of impactful stories, and how you're gonna try to make it like in a small amount of time to convey to people, you know, to like, man, this is what we're doing,
right?
And if you want to be a part of it, and this is our organization. That's what we're trying to do. Make the world a little better place. And that's what my question to you two, and the listeners too, for you to reflect. Do you believe the world would be a better place if more people train jiu-jitsu? Really?
I mean, now that I know what I know, being 3 years in, I fully believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it from a standpoint of, not, you know, people, you better learn how to fight. You better learn how to fight. Yes, great. It's awesome. But
not the fight aspect of like how to defend
yourself. Yeah. But for me, it's more of, you know what? It gives you perspective more than anything I may have experienced in my life for off the mat stuff. Not just on the mat.
I agree with Terry. Yeah. I think it'd be a lot better.
Because if you see, like, most people, man, I have to spiel all the time with people to come, you know, white belts or whatnot, is that most people start training because, like, I want to get in better shape. Yeah, I want to learn how to defend myself, you know, like things like that, you know. But what keeps them in is definitely the mental, the emotional aspect. That includes the social aspect too. You know
for sure.
Like, exactly.
You know, because it gets in your emotional aspect, you know, and so that is what really keeps people in. It's not like kicking ass and like, oh wow, I'm getting really fit. And like, sure, it's part of the package, but people don't know. If someone pay like whatever, to say you're gonna pay $200 pay per month. Oh my God, it's a lot of money. It's like, if you have any idea what this $200 per month, $50 a week can do for your life, for your kid's life, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the turnaround that you can have, you'd be like, it should be more expensive. I'm serious. I'm just saying, like, people don't understand the value that you really get.
People pay way more than that to go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever have you. Not that I think that profession's bad. I think it's great and people need it.
For sure. Work along with it. You know what
correct.
I mean? Work with,
They pay tons and tons more money than that a month to sit down and talk with someone, and when you could pay less money and even get not the same, but a new thing of that was going to change perspective for you, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. You know what I mean? Or, you know, they spend money on supplements or other things that it's like, well, you could actually spend your money on this and it probably would fix the same exact thing that you're having the issues with, or it's going to help you through things more than something else would. That's kind of been my perspective since starting jiu-jitsu, because I've learned so much about it. From this standpoint of life and in the gym and out of the gym, and like, oh, this is such a correlation. Oh, I never thought about this. Oh, that really helps me now think about this differently. Or I see that person and I can talk to them about that because they understand it because they're on the mats. You know, so yeah, like as we say on this show all the time, everyone do jiu-jitsu. And if you're listening, you probably already are.
The reason, most likely, or at least have trained at some point in their lives, and they still, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why I do this question, ask this question, saying like, hey, do you feel that it were to be a better place? So people like, the same thing, they kind of reflect like, yeah. It's like, yeah, but unfortunately, millions of people, either they're not even aware of jiu-jitsu. They're not even know
exactly
that should exist. You know what I mean? Number one. And a lot cannot afford it. So the programs that we do, we're doing this partnership with Resilient Health, the Behavior Center. This is one of them. Like, a lot of those kids, you know, the parents, they don't know the existence of jiu-jitsu. They'd be like, so is that an option? Okay. You know, we had the best like that we've seen from was a girl that was one of the pilots that we did in our school. She's 11 years old and then a little overweight. That first day in class, the girl couldn't even leave the bathroom because she was having an anxiety attack, a panic attack.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bad, like really bad.
Yeah.
This girl ended up being the best like turnaround of any kid that ever came to the school.
Nice.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of
that's why you do what you do, though. You know what I mean? Like, that is a prime example, Gustavo, of what, like, I believe, like, talking to you today is that's a passion for you. Like, you want to see that. Like, it's a passion, and you see that.
For sure.
Like, it's in your heart. That's like, he did this and he got involved with this to do that, to see those actions. Unfortunately, I don't want anyone to have those panic attacks. Everyone out there understand that. However, speaking of this, like, I can tell, like, that was important for you.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. Because you see, like, the girl, she's like shaking in class, and I'm just doing my class, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm talking to her like, hey, okay, come here. Like, oh, let's go. Okay, here. I wasn't like really like, stop, and it's okay. I was just kind of like, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, flow.
Normal, just kind of blending in. And then a huge part is like that acceptance of being part of something. You know what I mean? You're not cool at school. You know what I mean? Like, you're a little overweight, or people make fun of you. And next thing, you're in a group that, you know, like, and everyone's trying here. You know what I mean? There's everyone, you know, like, it's being nice to you. And the next thing, you start losing. And now, you know, the girl is like crying if she doesn't go to class. You know what
The
I mean?
opposite,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like for sure. Just because of like this place that I mentioned about the rural area,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just jujitsu. Is the vibe, the environment. Like what I witnessed, that was one of my favorite places that I've been, period, from God knows how many I visited. Because I met this lady, she her husband, because I got involved with managing MMA fighters and stuff for a while. And I met one of the husbands, one of the fighters. His wife went to the fight too in Vegas, and then I was talking to her, and then suddenly she was like, "Oh, I have, like a social project." I'm like, "Tell me more." So as soon as
Yeah.
because she had no idea that I'm involved with this, and I
Sure,
love it,
yeah.
and I could tell this girl's definitely passionate, and I can tell, and we started to get involved with a program, and I went to visit there. They have 100 families or kids or friends that are involved
Mm-hmm.
with it, and I'm watching. I'm like, this girl, she knows all the family's name. She knows the history, the stories, everyone. You know what I mean? All the kids, she knows the name, hugs, kiss them. Like, she's been doing that for over 10 years. She's from that area, but she moved to a different area. So every weekend, she drives and goes there from either Thursday night or Friday to Sunday, and then they go back to Rio Sunday night or Monday morning. Her life is that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And be able to see the kids art. They love jiu-jitsu. They do art. They do music, but it's the environment. I was like, if they're teaching golf here, those kids would freaking love it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It happens that it was jiu-jitsu and it's cool, and they doing well. And then they're one of the programs that we're donating 50 geese to them.
Nice.
But the cool thing is they don't know they're actually getting the geese. So
Nice.
we're going to get a setup for our crew to go there and
Sure.
film, to be a surprise. They're gonna come in, they don't know why. And we kind of to film their reaction actually receiving the geese. So it's really cool to be able to share this with the donors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the donors can see cool. I can see where this money is going towards. So I'm super excited and anxious at the same time. I was like, when does the geese get?
That's awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And
That's cool.
So I'm stoked with that. And the podcast, I took that break, so that's been a main reason for me to get back. You know what I mean? To put content,
awesome,
and let people know, and hopefully sometimes get more donors, business owners want to get involved, and we have this thing also called Adopt a Social Project Program.
Okay,
that is for business, individual, academies, associations. That's $300 per month. And that helps with the sustainability of a social project. You guys can really see, I have the fuzzy, background. Of the social projects that we have in our list, that we get a monthly money for them, especially to help the coaches. Nice. Some institutes, they have different activities, but this is I had one that it's actually, I pen on my Instagram. I did a lot of the seminars that I teach are fundraisers. And so we're able to do enough to do a construction for the place. We bought the mats, and then we're going to be receiving geese, and we're paying the coach. This is they are the best case scenario. You did the whole thing. Right. Okay. When it probably end to raise about $11,000. Wow. For that doing seminars. So we're recording this here in April, May, I have 5 different seminars in different states ready scheduled, all fundraisers.
Nice.
For the organization. And I'm expanding. I said that I'm not going to scale my tournaments. So I'm not scaling because something else, but I'm promoting 2 nonprofit tournaments in Brazil dedicated to social projects. In the south of Brazil, July 2nd, and in the northeast of Brazil, and on December 2nd. So two different tournaments dedicated to kids from social projects. So I'm always looking for partners. So anyone who wants to get involved, anyone who wants to have me at the academy for a seminar to do a fundraising seminar, I'm down too. So you guys let me know the time, because we've been here for 2 hours.
I was going to tell you. I was going to say we're up against the clock.
One thing I wanted to tell you both to watch, and I don't know if you've seen it, Gustavo, but there's a documentary on YouTube called "The Saint of Crackland."
I already watched. With Ryan.
With Ryan Ford. Terry watched that one.
Okay.
Ryan does the BJJ Fanatics podcast.
I know he is. Yeah.
So it's kind of a youth jiu-jitsu project in a bad area, Sao Paulo, and
nice.
Really, really bad. However, that program ended.
Did it end? Yeah.
Why? Because of lack of support.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why you created this Adopt a Social project, to like minimize the chance. We try as an organization to donate, to specific ones. So, but for us, man, we just don't have enough money.
Yeah.
There's way too many people to help. So, like, for example, an academy wants to adopt social project, say like, oh, Gustavo, it's 300, it's too much. And we're like, okay, you can have a jar and do like a team effort, say like, yo, we're going to sponsor for 12 months this organization. Every month there's a jar here. We need $300 per month. Whoever come in, put $5, put 20, blah, 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 blah. Maybe whatever we couldn't put, the academy can put the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, yeah.
So that's a way to get involved with either an academy or a full association with like 10, 15 schools. Like, dude, each one give like $30, it's all good.
Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, I just feel like at this point in my life, this is always something that, I always did. This always been my kind of like part-time, remember, work full-time and live part-time in a dream. And now I'm actually living like a full-time. The most part of my day is dedicated to Jiu-Jitsu Tribe.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, good on you, man. Just keep doing it. Obviously. I want to make sure we stay in contact, obviously. And I want to talk to Gustavo more. I want to another show, another time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to talk more about this. Just in general, like, you know what I mean? Like, I love these type of conversations. They're very informative. They're very knowledge based. And it helps spread the word to get information out there. If I got new people listening this time or 20 the next time, or so have you, you can get that information out there. Obviously there's out there. So Gustavo, I want you to do this. Shout outs, anything you want on how do people, like websites and Instagram or any social, like whatever you want. I always put all that, and I'll have all this other stuff in the show notes for people to click on and stuff. Cause we drop on every major platform, including YouTube, that people listen to podcast and or watch. They're all out there. So I make sure I have all that information for people to get to. So go ahead at it, my man.
I would say Instagram, Gustavo Dantas BJJ. If you go there, the LinkTr, there's all the links, everything I do. That's, way too many things there. And at Jiu-Jitsu Tribe, jiu-jitsutribe.org. Nice. Visit, been trying to be busier with Instagram as well. Trying to put some more, showing some of the projects that we've been supporting. And we started to promote. We have this thing called like donate your birthday Facebook. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but on Facebook you can donate your birthday. It's something that there's a link that we have ready. Say like, we just basically, as we put the link, say like, hey, this birthday I'm donating to. You can choose a nonprofit, So of course, Jiu-Jitsu Tribe is there. So that's a way for you to help out without just putting on Facebook. You know what I mean, for your birthday. So it's one thing that we do, and we try to promote like a recurring payment of like $5. Give a high five. Yeah. Like, because be like, sometimes be like, man, $5. This $5 really gonna help? Well, when you put a lot of people,
right, adds up.
In a year, it does, man. It really does. So we're starting with having our, have T-shirts and patches on our website, and that always going to be available. But as far as the gi, probably June, we plan on putting the next pre-sale for, I think it's going to be a white gi, and do a pre-order, and probably in 2 months, same deal, have it manufacture some more gi. So super excited, man. I appreciate
Awesome.
the opportunity to
man.
share, the
Appreciate
message,
you.
and people who are listening maybe don't know much about my work can check it out. Probably some of my students might be listening, so might be getting some new listeners as well.
Yeah, appreciate that too, for sure.
I appreciate the time, guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
man.
too, my friend. God bless you and everything that you're doing, man. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. We'll
Yes,
talk
sir.
again for sure. All right, my man.
Later, guys.
Thanks,
Later.
brother.
See ya.